live. Hi, this is Ginny, Dave, and Tim, our special guest today. We're talking about, do you want to introduce yourself first, or did we introduce you last time?
I think you may have introduced me last time, but my name's Tim Soper. I'm just tech here at DS Tech.
Yep, and I'm Ginny. He's not just a tech.
He is.
He's one of the smart techs. We have lots of smart techs, but just saying.
Yes.
And we're gonna pick his brain today because me and Dave don't know anything about this topic.
Nope.
But before I do, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter so you get all the news on whatever's going on, like hacking or whatever, and whatever you need to do to protect yourself, that kind of thing. And I'll tell you at the end of the video how to get a hold of us if you want any of our tools to help you out or whatever. So, what is cryptocurrency is the question, because me and Dave, we don't know. We're like, I'm kind of a geek, but not that much of a geek, and this geek knows everything about it. So we're gonna let him.
That. There's people that have been studying this since its conception. That still, it's an ever evolving thing that it's constantly changing. You can research it forever and you'll still won't know everything about it. It's pretty.
That's true.
It's pretty deep. But,
well, that's true about anything, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
How
the more
far
you
down the rabbit hole do you want?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's
So
the saying? The more you know, the more you don't know,
Yeah.
right?
So I guess I'll just start with how it started. In 2008, there was an anonymous pseudonym, Satoshi Nakamoto, who released a white paper on some internet forums. In this white paper, it just described a mathematical system, like computer system function, of how you can create a borderless, permissionless, decentralized system of keeping recorded transactions that was also immutable, so no one could go back and change what was given to whom.
And the way you described that to me was like it's a ledger.
Yeah, it's just
right?
like kind of like a ledger of transactions. If I said I had, say, $10 and I gave you $5 and I gave Dave $5, that would be recorded on the blockchain or the ledger. Those two words, kind of like interchangeable. And then that gets pushed out to all the other computers participating. So they all have a copy of this ledger. And then
So they can track how much everyone has.
Exactly.
And there's no fudging it.
Yes, and there's no central authority that can go into that ledger and make changes or do anything. It's just distributed among all the computers. And then, and then the next transaction, then say, Dave, you give $5 back to me. That'll be recorded, and then that gets pushed out to all the computers again. And it's an ever-changing, evolving, open digital ledger. Like you can go on a website and look at every transaction that's happened from Bitcoin, including they call the Genesis block, or the very first Bitcoin that was ever created. You can still
Which
track
that guy created.
The Satoshi guy created that. He basically just released to the wild, here's the program, do with it what you will.
So,
And the program is like
It's just
a
code.
mathematical equation,
Yes.
right?
It's a concept of having computers perform a system of work, and then they're rewarded with that work. You're kind of, I guess you would say, staking your energy, because you're using energy, which costs money, to run your computer to solve these mathematical equations and help the ledger stay strong. Ledger is distributed among 10,000 computers, so there's no way, or more, now if I'm just using that number as a random number, not one computer can get in and change the ledger or make any adjustments on it.
Interesting.
sneeze.
Oh, sorry. Like, what happened to Dave?
No, I know. We don't have a cough button, so I have to go off camera.
And so
Sorry.
one of the first, I guess, early things in I guess you'd say Bitcoin or cryptocurrency.
Is that a generic term or is that a specific term? Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is the original, I guess you would say, cryptocurrency. It was the first one that was created in the Satoshi, the white paper. It was Bitcoin, and I forget the exact name, and a way of distributing, the ledger and stuff. And so with that, there's these other, since the code is open to the public, you can look at the code, how it works. It's completely open source. That's the idea with it too, is it's not like an entity controls it. There have been offshoots or spawns from Bitcoin where people will take the code, change it a little bit to fit a different niche, and then call it something else. Those are what you hear the altcoins. So you got, Litecoin, Dogecoin, Ethereum, all the different, there's probably like 10,000 different cryptocurrencies out there right now.
And those are like copies?
There's copies of the original Bitcoin code and altered to try to, I'd say 90 to 95% of them are all junk. they're just fluff, and the idea behind them is to make the owners rich, because they're like, I'm going to take Bitcoin's code, make it do this, and sell it as this, and then they hold on to so many of those coins that if the value ever goes up, they've just made themselves a millionaire. And a lot of that, it's not functionally superior to Bitcoin or certain things, but there are other coins which do have a better purpose. For example, the biggest one now is the Ethereum coin, because the whole point with that is to make, they call it distributed apps. So you could have an application that runs on code that's just in the cloud or on this blockchain that's out there. They've made their own, so they're not so much focused on the monetary aspect of it. They still is sort of the Ethereum coin that could give you, that's worth value. But the main purpose of it is to create software that just runs on the blockchain. Like you can have code that, rather than your code accessing a server or locally stored on your computer, it's actually running off code that's just on the internet. So you can have a, it's pretty wild concept to think of that, but but it's the way of creating a distributed app, decentralized app that anyone can use.
That's the Ethereum.
That's the Ethereum coin, is that one. And then there's other coins like with Bitcoin, the big hurdle is the transaction time from when I give you money with Bitcoin. It usually takes about 10 minutes. It can be a little bit slower or faster depending how much money you say. Like say I want to give Dave money and he needs it right now. I can put a fee attached to that, and it will help his transaction get propagated through the system faster. People bid for how quickly the transactions are going. The problem is because so many people are using Bitcoin now, if I were to send you $10, I might have like a $3 fee attached to that. And that's just, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I do that? So there's other coins out there like Stellar, and that is one where there's hardly any fee attached. It's like 0.01 of a penny. I can send you any amount. I could send you $10 million, and it's only going to cost me 0.01 pennies to send you that amount of money. And that also, rather than taking 10 minutes, will happen within 6 seconds.
So that's a copy of the code that includes like a fast pass.
Pretty much, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So,
and that one's focusing on international remittances. For us, we live in a society where we have computers, we have access to banking, we have access to all this kind of stuff. So for us, this technology is not really going to affect us that much. It's not really creating a new way of creating banks. But if you live in a country that's not fortunate enough to have banking systems where you can just go open a bank account, but you have access to a smartphone, you can now actually participate in a global transaction.
Your money's in your phone.
Exactly.
Oh, interesting.
And
it's not literally, but
right.
Exactly. And there's some refugees, for example, if they're leaving a country, then they're getting all of their assets, I guess you could say, seized or whatever else. They'll take all their money, put it into a blockchain, and then they can memorize a 20-word character phrase, like, just like a password, like 20 words, a mnemonic phrase. And whenever they finally get to the country they're getting to.
Mnemonic phrase.
Yeah.
Is that like when we were talking passwords, Dave? Is that like?
Yeah, use a mnemonic to
like
for memory.
I don't know. I live on 3rd Street, but it would be like exclamation point.
Yeah.
But I'll like a phrase.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And so what they'll do is they'll take their entire life savings, put it into a cryptocurrency, and then flee to the country, because along the way, usually you're getting robbed, you're getting, horrible things are happening to people as they're getting there. But then when they finally get to the country, if all they have is a shirt on their back, they get access to any computer terminal, they can put in their mnemonic phrase and basically have access to all of their assets now in their new country that they just fled to. So it's a way for people.
A good thing in that.
In that case, it's a good thing.
Yeah,
so there are ways it's helping certain people. And then in our sphere, what we always hear about is the ransomware. Oh no, my company just got cryptoed. What do I do?
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's kind of a bad word in our.
Yes.
Right. That's why I was like.
Because it's usually followed by locked.
Yes. And that's where they'll, lock all of your files, your assets, your computers, and unless they basically are ransoming you, they say, send us $10 million in Bitcoin, and then we'll unlock your computer. Well, the problem with that is there's no guarantee that even if you paid them your $10 million, they're going to unlock your computer.
Because it has not always happened.
The best thing you can do is just have good backups and try to restore to a point in time before you actually were cryptoed is realistically the go-to in the industry right now.
We're going to use the word, and we always use security is very important. Backups are part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, there's no guarantee that giving them, and basically just, if you're not in the business, having your files locked is basically, they're password protected.
Mm-hmm.
And they just put a huge long password on it. And that's what they give you back once you pay the bad
Yeah,
guys in.
and the problem is that once they have your data, I really don't think they're going to give it back. They're not your. How do you know that they didn't
Exactly,
have a
because
copy?
they're bad guys in the first place,
Right.
That's exactly. So
Be protected in the first place.
yes. So that's, with anything, there can be good and there can be bad. The
Exactly.
overall idea with crypto and blockchain is to create more or less different protocols that people can use. Again, most of it should be open source. So if someone's trying to sell you a cryptocurrency or a blockchain, but you actually can't look at the source code, it's not open, that's not a true cryptocurrency, in my personal opinion, because it should be open to the people to scrutinize, go through the code, see how it's working.
But they can't change it.
And then they can't change like the fundamental way that certain things work. And if they do want to change it, they can copy the code, make their own. That's where you have the altcoins. There's certain coins out there where rather than say have 50 million Bitcoin, that's all that's going to exist. They have certain coins that have 10 trillion coins, but it's serving a different purpose where they're trying to do multiple transactions really quickly. So they need more coins in the wild to facilitate that sort of a move. So people are taking the code, altering it to their own tailored experiences, and then that's where you're going to see it's like a big explosion. You have everyone's trying to create their own cryptocurrencies and solve these different problems right now, and in the end of it, there's probably going to be like 5 or 6 that are actually really good. Like when the internet first started, there was 40 different search engines. Everyone's trying to figure out how to do search properly.
That's a good point.
And then you had Google and Yahoo. You know what I mean? And even then, now it's Google. So it's going to be the same thing. We're going to have all these different coins claiming they're doing different things a different way. In the end, just by people using them properly, it's going to buff out all the ones that are fluff versus ones that are actually serving a purpose.
Okay.
So we'll get rid of like Alta Vista and
yes, Red Crawler can go away.
What was the one?
Ask Jeeves.
Although I think it might still
Dog
exist.
Pile, do you remember that one?
Yes.
Is that still around?
Oh,
I don't
I don't know.
know. I'm going back in time.
There's literally dozens of browsers that still exist.
Yes.
But as far as search engine
Yes,
goes,
you look at this one. I have Opera on there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway.
I have Safari and Google Chrome on my phone, because Safari's the
We're getting
Apple.
off, getting off topic. Sorry,
so-
but so the bottom line is to answer our whole question, what Bitcoin is. It's a mathematical code that creates unique
Tokens, digital
value.
digital tokens, which are now worth value.
Okay,
depending on-
and they're unique.
Yes.
Each one is unique, so there's a limited number of them.
Yep.
Which is why they're worth more as
time goes on, because it's harder and harder to get more.
Right.
When this Bitcoin first started, all the other computers participating in the network were running code, validating the ledger, and then as part of validating this ledger process, you were rewarded with Bitcoin as for putting up
doing the work.
Doing the work.
Yeah.
And then when it first started, you get 50 Bitcoin as a reward. And then people were pooling the resources. You hear the mining pools where you have 50 people putting all their computers together. If one of those 50 computers solves it, we'll take the 50 and distribute it to everyone equally. That was what people were pooling the resources to try to solve these equations. And as it got harder and harder in time, you also get less. So now every 4 years, you used to get 50 Bitcoin. It was down to 25. 4 years after that, 12 and a half. 4 years after that, 6 3/4. So it's getting harder and harder to get Bitcoin introduced into the system as time goes on, making it more scarce. The idea is it's like a gold mine in the ground. As you're going deeper into the mine, it's harder and harder to extract resources from it because it's already been extracted.
Okay.
right.
So that makes it
That's
a deflationary
how I see it in my
currency.
mind, as I see a gold mine, right?
Right.
They mine all the gold
So-
out. and-
Next week we can talk about it. You don't have to be a super geek to get into it, right?
Yep. No.
And then we'll talk about, right?
Right. We're going to talk more into this today. We just wanted to answer the question, what is it? Right.
Because
So-
we're learning a lot, Jenny
Yeah.
and I, right now.
We don't know. We
I
know.
hope you are too.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes I can talk a little technical and I just get going on it too. So if you have any, questions,
Oh yeah, drop them.
And-
clarification,
yeah,
just answer
Send
the
your questions. And we also have to, I think we should make this disclaimer. We're not giving financial advice in any way.
Yeah, no.
This is no way financial advice. Bitcoin, I do not look at it as a speculative investment. If someone is trying to sell you a Bitcoin or any currency as an investment risk-free thing, my advice is turn around and run. It is not worth your time to try to do it. It's more about the idea of what we can do to change the world for a better place with some of this technology and streamlining certain things is the overall goal with it. I mean, certain coins are going to be worth money, but that's not the true purpose of Bitcoin or any of these currencies. As much as everyone, that's kind of the big hot topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and besides, most of our customers who, not our customers, but the stories we hear about, like my son applied to a college and they got hacked. So I'm like, great. So they have his information. That's great. So right now they're shut down because they're trying to recover.
Really?
Yeah, really. From a ransomware attack.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know all the details because it just happened. So, but anyway.
And that's the biggest thing to look out for now is the ransomware, that this technology is being used by nefarious hackers to lock and encrypt your data. And then unless you give them certain money, they'll claim that they'll unlock it for you. But even then, it's, your best bet is to try to find out when exactly your systems were infected and then restore. The problem is the hackers are getting smarter where they'll put this virus code on your software and servers. It'll lay dormant for 6 months and
Right.
then it activates itself.
Right.
So the problem is, even if you were to restore you'd have to restore 6 months ago to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
So there's certain things you can put on your servers that will scan and kind of look for that. There's software security that will kind of keep an eye.
Which we offer.
Didn't we have a story where a customer came on board and our little sniffer found one that was getting ready to deploy like the next day or something?
Can't name the specifics.
No,
but,
but didn't that happen?
Yes, there was
I thought I heard a story
there was a
like that.
municipality that happened to, I believe, or something like that, where our stuff was on.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yep.
It might not have been.
It
doesn't matter.
Huntress product.
Yeah.
Is it?
I think Huntress Labs will go in there too, and they're really good. They're one of the best.
So we have several products.
Oh yeah. If you're interested in any of that kind of stuff, email security@dstech.net, and we'll be glad to answer your questions and do one of our free. We have something free we do.
Free assessments. Yeah.
So awesome.
We also have several scams.
We do.
We're able to run the dark web and the
pen tests.
The pen test, where you're vulnerable, what information if you got hacked would be,
Yeah.
There's other software we even have too, like this one called Crypto Prevent, where basically what it does is it puts a couple hidden files in weird spots on your system that should never be touched. And if something's touching those weird files, it's a red flag of like, why is something accessing this? Because usually what the ransomware does is it goes through all the files, it kind of touches everything on your system and then encrypts them. So there's certain things out there we can do definitely to help you to make sure that you're protected against any sort of ransomware attacks like that.
Yeah. There's never any guarantees, but we have a lot of tools. So.
Yes.
Anyway, make it a great day and
see you next week.
No one.
Yes. Our new phrase.
True. Remember
that. Trust
no one. Yes. All right. We'll see you next week where we dive in a little bit more into crypto with Tim. All right.
Yep.